Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this History Police video, I would like to review a short clip of the Other Boleyn Girl. So here we're in the Great Hall. Henry VIII is amused by Anne Boleyn, and let's discuss a bit the historical accuracy, if I think she would have said what she said, and also what it shows us about how Anne Boleyn was portrayed in this movie. And maybe let's debunk a myth or two.
What's the noise?
It's Mistress Boleyn, Your Grace. Her stories of life at the French court.
I'm aware of one Boleyn girl, but she's lying in with a certain child in her belly. Well, Boleyn girl, show your face.
So obviously here we're making up that is the first time that Henry VIII meets Anne Boleyn. First, it's not true. He would have known about Anne because he met her in France. He knew that she was a ladies-in-waiting in Claude, from 1515 to 1521. So here, obviously, not working. But that's because the whole storyline is not working. Here, she would have been sent to France as a reprimand for marrying Henry Percy, the Earl of Northumberland. Obviously, none of this happened. But even when she came back to the English court, this is not how they met again. She was a ladies-in-waiting to Catherine of Aragon, and they met at Chateau Vert. So it was a pageant. So here, obviously, definitely not happening. But here she was apparently amusing people with stories about the French court.
What's so amusing?
I was merely offering my thoughts on the new French king. With such great power, yet such meager authority as a man.
Okay, so here we're in 1527. She's saying he's a new king, he's not a new king, he's been king since 1515. So the timeline is all absolutely off and absolutely infuriating when you really look at it. Now she's attacking him as a man. I think that's kind of well done. But I'll tell you my thoughts, I will.
Continue.
His pettiness is
Obviously, he likes that.
astounding. He will bear a mortal grudge over the mildest of slights. Spoilt cub with a spike in his paw. Riven with resentment. Unable to forgive or forget. A great king, a great man, rises above such things.
So here she's playing that Francis I is that man who's so petty, and do we have instances where he's petty? Not really. Also, I have to say that I think Anne Boleyn, first of all, she didn't spend that much time with Francis I, and when she did, she probably liked him enough. There is no record of them not getting on at all. You have to remember that Francis I is going to support Anne Boleyn once Henry VIII set his eyes on her. So would she have said something like that about him, where potentially at the court there would have been French ambassadors, French envoys who would have heard what she was saying? Absolutely no. Anne Boleyn was a Francophile. Anne Boleyn was someone who supported the French, promoted the French Anglo-French alliance. All of this would have never happened. Though what's interesting here is that obviously she's like poking at Henry VIII, and in many ways, for me, she's talking about him more than she's talking about Francis. That's so funny. But also here, obviously, you have her being a charmer. And that's a big myth that we need to debunk.
And what would you know of great men?
I've read enough books and heard enough talk to believe I'd know one if he were before me.
Then look about you. I'm curious. Do you see one here?
Look.
First of all, let's talk about the fact that I've read lots of books. Everyone would have laughed. Because a woman reading lots of books, but it gets interesting because that is true. Anne Boleyn was really well educated and loved reading. And like Catherine of Aragon, her biggest rival, right? They were both promoting education for women. I would say that Catherine of Aragon probably did a lot on this that we know of, but Anne Boleyn was also an advocate for women's education. So here it's very interesting, like that no one laughed about a woman reading like, it's like, oh my god, like, don't you have anything else to do, like music, dancing, sewing and everything? So that's quite very interesting that here it is there, no one laughed, and then she plays like, if I say a great man. So here it's her seducing the king, and that never happened. She never tried to seduce him. She had no interest in Henry VIII. Please repeat after me. Anne Boleyn never pursued Henry VIII. Let's debunk that myth.
Looking, my lord. Still looking, my lord. Ah, there. Found one.
So forgiveness, you say, makes a man great. What else?
Generosity. Humility. The ability to recognize his match in others and not be threatened by it.
So here we have everything about Anne. What I like here, though, I'm not a huge fan of this portrayal of Anne, but like the boldness, the audacity, the strength, all of that is in many ways Anne Boleyn. So here, I think Natalie Portman does actually a very good job here. What's so interesting, though, she said a great man forgives. He has humility. He's generous. Not really Henry VIII, right? Like, I mean, that's not who he was.
He's matching other men.
Women too.
You believe that? That women can be the match of men?
It's a question women have asked themselves for some time. But we concede men do have some value. So we accept them as equal.
She would have never said that. But I love that line of that movie. I mean, I hate that movie. Love that line in that movie. For once, they had kind of a very naughty script that she would have never been bold. But at the same time, it does match the fact that she confronted him about the dissolution of monasteries, that she thought that he was only doing that because he wanted more money. So it does match the fact that Anne Boleyn had a voice and had an opinion. And I love that about that scene. That is well done.
I find you much changed, Mistress Anne.
Then my prayers have been answered.
Welcome back at court.
So here it is all about the beginning of this big love story or lust story. And no, it would not have happened this way. But here I love the agency that is given to Anne. I love the boldness that is given to Anne. I love the fact that she's portrayed as a very strong, audacious woman. And we need more of that because she was like that. It's too bad that we had to use, as if she was so close to Francis I, so could have known him on that level when she was in France. It's a kind of, if she had, like, would she have criticized him that way in public? Absolutely big no. But it is so good here that we have that kind of dynamic between the two. It's so historically inaccurate, but at the same time it's so well done in that scene. Do you see what I mean? I mean, historically the movie, no, but it's so good that it is done in that scene, and I absolutely love the way it is done. Now, it's definitely not the dynamic between Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. This is not how they met again. This is not how he started pursuing her. And I wish we had a movie that really followed that, because if you just follow the sources and how Henry VIII started being really passionate about Anne, then you understand the importance of the relationship and why Anne Boleyn was sometimes jealous and why it was important for her to keep that closeness to Henry VIII. She was not bringing a dynastic alliance like Catherine of Aragon. She was not royal blood, and I think she knew that. So her queenship is based on that relationship with Henry VIII. So as soon as he lost interest, for her it was a disaster. And I think we don't fully understand that, and we judge her for having a bad temper, for being jealous, for being, crazy, when actually it's because of the way things were between them so unusual. The way she was pursued, the way it happened for her, and the way it was almost like, you know, the two of them against the world. And if she lost that partner in crime kind of thing, then she lost everything, didn't she? Let me know in the comments what you think of that scene of her performance, because I think Natalie Portman really channels the best, audacious, bold, strong Anne Boleyn. Let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!